And Jenna, I'll start with you and let's get down to brass tacks. The assumption the last time around was that women were going to help Hillary Rodham Clinton break the glass ceiling and make her president. What's the assumption this time around, do you think?
They're going to move in a much different fashion. Traditionally, politicians have assumed that white women were going to pull the lever in the same direction as a lot of the men in their lives. And Trump is directly speaking to them, hoping that he's going to be able to move a couple of key states. But previously, the political has never really been personal, and American white women have been able to opt out because they've been able to draft off policies, politics, privilege for generations. But since 2016, the surprising results of 2016, you had the Women's March, the Muslim ban, Me Too, and obviously seeing all of the fault lines in our fail-safes in our society because of COVID. And then, of course, the magnifying glass that's been over the longest rerun in our country, the abuse of marginalized communities, is forcing this demographic to reckon with their behavior in ways that is going to be mountain moving.
Baratunde, thanks in large part to our friend and colleague Kristen Welker as moderator last night. We heard at least one side of a discussion on race that in my lifetime we've never heard at a presidential debate, and I want to play for you part of Joe Biden's answer.
What I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel.
Of course, that answer came about because the candidates were asked about the talk, the 10 and 2 positioning on the wheel and all that comes from that. Baratunde, how does that compare with, say it with me, I've done more for African Americans than any other president with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln?
Don't make me say it, Brian. I was feeling good. We made it through another week that feels like a year. And I just propose a toast to you, to Jenna, and to everyone watching. These weeks are hard and we deserve to celebrate. I wore a jacket for you tonight. That's how happy I am to make it to Friday.
Thank you.
What's remarkable to me about the race conversation on the debate last night, first is that we were able to have somewhat of a conversation. And the Washington Post put it best when they said, we had a civil debate. We only had to mute the president to be able to pull that off. And if there's one positive out of this Zoom life we're all living in, is that we know where to find that mute button now, and it's very powerful. I think Joe Biden did what he is strong at doing, and the president did what he is weak at doing. When asked to directly address a human being about a painful experience, Joe Biden acknowledged the humanity of the person in question. He humbly submitted himself and said, I don't know what that feels like. But he empathized, he recognized, he mirrored the pain of that experience. And the president, per usual, made it all about himself, made it transactional, and made it ridiculous, as if he actually has done more for Black people than anyone since Abraham Lincoln. So he's made a joke and a mockery out of real pain and real challenges, those that he actually exacerbates in this country. It is devastating that a parent would have to talk to their child to fear the people charged with protecting and serving them. And our president doesn't see so many of us as his citizens.
And on the other side of the coin, Jenna, is the president again today telling suburban white women as a bloc that he has saved the suburbs, that they don't want to, quote, live next to a project. How is that going over, do you think? And how did it go over last night when he said that some of the children separated from their parents actually had it pretty good? They were actually living in kind of nice facilities.
That was the one comment that made everybody gasp. Everybody gasp. And, you know, American white women don't care that they have a president that can't define socialism, but I think his statement around surely not a female president is just adding fuel to the fire. I mean, American white women are showing up in ways that are going to be historic, and it's not for this just one-time vote, Brian. Come November 4th, you're going to see a huge amount of white women having those hard conversations with themselves, reaching out to those neighbors in the cul-de-sac that they have never really spoken to, picking up Baratunde's book and other phenomenal scholars who are putting out information and guiding us in ways that we need to. Everyone now knows that they have the capacity to make real change, and they're going to raise their hand to do it.
Baratunde, last night, as we all watched, the president dusted off the I'm the least racist person you'll ever meet. Here's the Washington Post today from his Florida rally. Trump referenced Barack Hussein Obama 3 times in a row, giving extra emphasis to Hussein, the middle name. He conflated low-income housing with crime, warned of criminals and rapists and even murderers immigrating across the border, talked up his ban on travelers from Muslim companies to keep out radical Islam. Meanwhile, and we've since seen this on video, a man behind Trump's shoulder repeatedly sure appears to be flashing the white power symbol. I guess he's forthright about it. I don't quite know how anyone can process that pile of facts any other way.
This president is desperate, Brian. He's flailing. He's gripping on to a shrinking constituency because he refuses to be the president for everybody. He begs for attention from women that he's dismissed pretty much his whole life. When you look at his rallies, what is he chanting? Lock her up. When he is signaling out members of Congress and governors, they're women of color. He doesn't see women as full citizens. He doesn't see people of color as Americans, no matter how long they've been here, no matter what office they have achieved. And I take a little bit of solace in the fact that more of us are seeing it. To Jenna's point, this is not 2016. They are trying to suppress the vote and people are staying in line longer. They're trying to turn us against one another and people are coming together. And there's no polls I trust more than the election results. So I am fighting from keeping my hopes up. I'm fighting to keep them down. But this president is not in a strong position, and he knows it, and we know it. And our time is coming. The people's time is coming. We've had enough of this nonsense. We really have. It's exhausting.
Let's leave it at this. We'll invite you both on when we know the results of the election, should those results become known in our adult lifetimes. This has been interesting, and I want to thank you both for hanging out with us on a Friday night. To Jenna Arnold, our thanks. Baratunde, I am the least jacket-centric person you will ever meet, and that is a snappy jacket, and we appreciate you bringing the A game on our humble broadcast tonight. Appreciate it, folks, very much.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.